the way people treat me in this city humbles me every time I come here. People are so kind and generous, and they have such a great sense of humor and everything, and it's like, it's beautiful. I feel like everybody's uncle, you know? And that is a privilege, man. It's funny, it's like I was saying the other day in the mayor's office, I connect to the city via a piece of fiction, you know? But that piece of fiction, in reality, opened people's eyes and hearts back to the truth and magnificence of the city of Rome. Why poker face? Well, I mean, it's a well-known skill within the sport of poker that you are supposed to cover your emotions and not give out any information. Obviously, that suits the wider narrative that the central character is going through. It's a very interesting challenge in that, in trying to convey an emotional story by playing a character who will not convey emotions. So, but yeah, I think the title alludes to the journey of the main character. Well, I think I've tried to use art as something that the central character has come to at a certain point where, you know, he may have achieved something in his business life or whatever, but he has more and more in his life started to lean in towards paintings and living with beautiful things, you know. I wanted there to be something more to the character than simply his obsession with card games and with the accumulation of wealth. How you use the wealth is sort of like a very interesting question as well, you know, whether you've got $10 or whether you've got 10 million, you know, how do you use your money to make your life feel more comfortable? It's like he has a mathematical mind, but at a certain point, he's opened himself up to this other thing, and now that he's opened himself up to it, you know, it in a way makes him more vulnerable because that's the target of somebody else's obsession, you know? So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on in the movie. But I think, I have to give you that context. And it's by no means anything more than context. You know, I come to this film within that period of grief at my father's passing. And then through the process of the 12 months of making it, in a way sort of honor the sort of things that he stood for. Is a line from my father. So just before the situation for making this movie came up, my father passed away. That line is a line that he used to use with my niece and cousins and a few other people. The line being that, you know, don't get yourself caught up with people who consider the glass to be half full or who consider the glass to be half empty. Just always understand that you can refill the glass. You know, I think the character in the movie faces a certain definitive journey, shall we say. I think he is trying to, you know, just as he has with his life, he's trying to control what might happen after his life, you know. And that is giving him a certain sense of satisfaction because he has a task. In a way, it kind of pushes back at the sadness because he can utilize the time he has to organize for the future, even though he might not necessarily be part of the future. It's very clear I have a deep affection for the city. If anybody follows my social media, particularly this past year, there's been some beautiful images of the city. You know, that film still has legs. Here we are, 23 years since we made it, and at some point, somewhere around the world, every night, it's playing on prime time, somewhere in the world. It's crazy, you know, but that is very definitely an indicator of where Ridley Scott was as a filmmaker when he made that film, and how much, you know, how far out on the edge of the curve he was. You know, the things that he was using, the camera movement, but also how he used CGI and stuff. There's like, it still has a freshness to it. You know, one day it won't. One day there'll be that moment and you look at it and you go, okay, you know, a generation has gone by or whatever, you know. But still, it still stands up, you know. So it's funny, it's like I was saying the other day in the mayor's office, I connect to the city via a piece of fiction, you know. But that piece of fiction, in reality, opened people's eyes and hearts back to the truth and magnificence of the city of Rome. You know, and you can see it in graphs. Visitors to Rome prior to the release of Gladiator, visitors to Rome after the release of Gladiator. So it's incredible. Look, the way people treat me in this city humbles me every time I come here. People are so kind and generous, and they have such a great sense of humor and everything, and it's like, it's beautiful. I feel like everybody's uncle, you know? And that is a privilege, man. It's so cool. I'm cool with it, you know what I mean? And look, for them to give me some sort of award for doing something that I would naturally do because it's a natural love affair, you know, I don't really understand why we need to have an award, but that's fine, you know? But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop talking to people about how they have to come to this city, how they have to experience it, you know, so, and hopefully I will continue to keep visiting myself, you know, it's all good, it's all natural for me. Are we talking physical things, or are we talking metaphorically, or what?
Metaphorically.
Yeah, so you have to go back in time to that point. That was a $103 million budget. Vastly different to any other movie I'd made at that point. The responsibility was completely different. And when I finished that film, I went home. I distinctly remember my mom asking me how I felt, you know? And I think I was 36 by the time the movie was finished. And when I refer to football, I'm talking about rugby, or rugby league or rugby union. So I said to her, I feel like a football player who's played one season too many. I was so physically beaten up by that film. And that's what some people don't necessarily understand, that that movie goes by in a couple of hours, but that movie represents over 100 working days for me, you know, and there'll be 12-hour days, 14-hour days. And as you see in that film, you know, there's many of those days where you're just rolling around the ground trying to get away from some big bloke trying to hit you with a sword or an axe or something, you know. My whole career, life, work environment changed with that film. The responsibility quotient of what I was doing got much higher. But it was all at the right time for me. I didn't feel, you know, it wasn't something I couldn't do. So that was good.
5 milioni in fish.
Offro io.
Dov'è la fregatura?
Se non giocherete, dovrete accettarne le conseguenze.
Non andare in quella casa, il programma è cambiato.
Non cambierò i miei piani.
No, stasera non si può fare niente, è chiaro? Sarà in casa.
Rilancio, 2 milioni.
All in.
Non puoi sparare a tutti.
Sto mirando solo a te, Victor.